and it's the 5th of August 2021. And for those of you that are new to this series of videos, this is a class. It's the 7th class that we are running on I'm running on the Oxygen Advantage YouTube channel. And these classes are rotating through different themes of yoga. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a yoga teacher based in North London, and alongside Patrick, we are teaching the Breathing for Yoga course. The next one will be starting on the 1st of September, so in a couple of weeks' time. And in today's class, the focus is to practice yoga asanas, but as always in this series of videos, to incorporate breath work that supports respiration. So it's not that we cannot practice yoga, that we'll have different focuses, but in these classes that's the main focus. And sometimes it is just breath work, like it was last week's class that was pre-recorded, and the focus was pranayama. And I saw your message, the comments, and I found that in the first exercise that was intentionally put first, a few people found it very easy, and that was absolutely fine. While in the second exercise, which intentionally again was put later, some people found it a little bit more challenging. And again, that's part of the deal, not only with asanas but with breath work as well. Some exercises will be a little bit more challenging, and it requires some build up over time. But today we will be combining asanas and pranayama, and I would like to know who I'm having in class today. I cannot see you, but if you leave in the comments where you're attending from, where you are at the moment, I would be very happy to read your messages. So feel free to comment on that, and so that we can make the class a little bit more interactive, as opposed to just me speaking on the screen and you just following along. Hi Sylvie. So I will be reading your messages later on. I'm having my mat here, and the first who will be starting the class, and the first thing we'll be doing today is to introduce lateral breathing. Now, for those of you that have been coming to these classes, lateral breathing is not something new. We have covered that before, and I think lateral breathing is very useful because it has multiple functions. So I will quickly run the theory, although these classes are very practical, and then we will move into practice. So the reason why lateral breathing is very useful is, if I was to give three reasons, is because it allows us to recruit the diaphragm. So lateral breathing is a diaphragmatic breathing. Those people that practice Pilates are very familiar with it, and this is in order to perform, actually I should describe it first. In order to practice lateral breathing, we want to be keeping our navel in. So I'm going to lift my top so that you can see. So I'm locking my navel in, and I'm allowing my lungs to expand. So you see my belly as I'm breathing. You know that I'm breathing because I'm speaking. As I'm breathing, my belly stays in. If I was to, that would not be lateral breathing, that would be more belly breathing. So I am recruiting my diaphragm, but the movement of the diaphragm is more expressed in the lungs. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit is because the belly is locked, or the abdomen is locked, I'm keeping my navel in, we are increasing abdominal pressure. Actually, transversus abdominis, which is one of the muscles of the inner unit, is activated when we keep the navel in. So we can stay more stable in our midsection. This is something that we'll explore further in next week's class, where we do balancing poses. Again, very relevant, lateral breathing. Today, the challenge of the core will be minimal, or the balance. And the last thing is that it allows us to focus on the parts of the biomechanics of the breath, such as the rib cage and from the back and the side, that a lot of the times are stuck. A lot of people will not have very flexible rib cage because maybe they are sitting too long, their shoulders are coming forward, it's restricted. but to a certain extent lateral breathing will help facilitate that. Of course, through yoga and asana we have numerous exercises, numerous postures to address that. And in a way this is the focus of the first class of the month, to address that. Today will be a more gentle one. We have covered already that in the previous class, the first Thursday of July, and of course in September and onwards we will be adding more and more to your repertoire of exercises. So so we will be starting. I will be starting with just doing some lateral breathing. I will be guiding you through. And if someone has any challenges, any questions, please let me know in the comments area, and I will address them. Yeah. So you can be sitting in a cross-legged position, or kneeling, or even on a chair. Really, for lateral breathing, you should be able to perform it standing as well, any posture. And I would like I demonstrated before, to keep your belly in. So I'm keeping my belly in. There is minimal movement on my belly. And I'm trying to concentrate to take a deep breath. Now, deep breath does not mean I'm opening my mouth, does not mean I'm taking a lot of air in. It means that I'm trying to recruit my diaphragm, right? So I will be inhaling, and I suggest you prolong the inhalation, but keeping it soft. So if I was to take a breath like this in, I will have to stop here. I cannot take much more air in. Even if I was to try, it would take maybe a little bit more. But if instead I breathe like that, I'm able to bring a lot more air in. I'm able to recruit a lot more my diaphragm. So I will encourage you to breathe in a second way, but at the same time lock your belly. This could be very supportive for people that have lower back problems. So I would suggest that you breathe laterally in any posture in a yoga class that you feel that your abdomen, your lower back is challenged. So from this position, I would like you to maybe close your eyes if you want. You can stay with your eyes open, although there is not so much for me to demonstrate, it's more to describe it. And maybe place your hands on the side of your rib cage. And notice if you can create some expansion in your lungs. So, in your ribs. So the lungs, of course, will move the ribs, but it's the ribs that you are touching. So you will be performing a few rounds of this, and don't force yourself to take bigger breaths, loud breaths. If someone else is near you, they should not be able to notice that you're performing this breathing exercise. So you're performing that. If you're sitting against the wall or on a chair, you may be finding that the expansion happens at the back of the rib. So I'm going to turn my back to you to demonstrate the part of the back that you can experience some movement. So it is here, yeah? You don't need to put your hands here as this is an awkward position. Just having the hands gently on the front. But make an effort to keep the belly locked. It will come natural after a while, but I have found that people, when they are starting out, they will need to concentrate, and even then they will be challenged. As I said, over time you will be able to do it in many postures. So I'm going to quickly check the messages. You do a few more rounds, and then we will be moving on to the first series of asanas. All right, and slowly you can come out of it. We will be visiting this breathing exercise during the second. We will be doing two sets of exercises today. The first one will be for the shoulders. Now, and then in this first one, we will be doing just some prolonged exhalations, okay? But in the second exercise, we will be using lateral breathing. Let's start with the first exercise, and I invite you to be practicing it with me. Please pay attention to the cues. Also, do as I demonstrate, because otherwise you will get lost if you have not done these exercises before. So, for the first exercise, you will be lying on your abdomen, and from here I will be extending my arm out. So notice I'm lying on my belly, I'm extending my arm out. By the way, if you have a block, keep it handy, if not, that's okay. And the arm is extended out and a little bit more level with my forehead. So a little bit high. From here, with the opposite hand, I'm going to push and turn on the side. And from here, I will have my belly sideways. Now, if my flexibility allows me, I will have my feet on the floor and I will shift my hips away from my extended arm. Now, if you need support for your head, you can place your head underneath the block. However, you don't need that. You can always rest your head back. Over time, I would be wanting you to send your knees towards the extended arm, having the feet close to your hips. Now, people with lower back sensitivities, please be careful here. If you're pregnant and as a result you should probably not be practicing any twists, avoid that as well. But I would say that for everybody else that's safe. Of course, also be very careful if you have shoulder injuries, but usually it's quite useful unless the injury is acute. And here I would like you to be breathing very softly. I would like you to be softening the breath so much so that you are moving into hypercapnia. You're bringing the sensation of air hunger. If you're familiar with breathing light, stay there. I'm going to move out so you can see me. If you're familiar with breathing light, you can be practicing breathing light, but just soft breathing and will be sufficient to bring your body into a state of air hunger. Continue breathing for 3 more breaths, and I would invite you to take these next 3 breaths so that you can deepen the state of your hypercapnia. We have already discussed how you know that you have achieved that. Thanks those of you that left a comment on where you are from. It's always nice to see that there are people from Europe or from all over the world. I know there are people from Australia that usually end up watching these classes recorded, as it is an awkward time for people far east. Okay, and let's move to the second side. So now I will run through it one more time with you so that, why not, so that you can follow. So slowly move out of the position. Again, you're resting on your belly. Again, now this time you're extending your left arm out. And by now I would expect that you are feeling the difference between left and right side. This is an exercise that if you have imbalances between the 2 sides of your shoulders, you're very likely to feel the movement being more restricted on one over the other. So from here again, you come, you rest. Remember, you can have your head supported and try to soften your breath. This is not a position that is easy to practice lateral breathing, and probably I would argue it's not even needed to practice lateral breathing here. So I invite you to practice soft breathing, hypercapnic breathing. And if you want to close your eyes, there is no balancing needed here. We're going to perform a few more exercises for the shoulders. So if people have tight shoulders, today will be an opportunity to mobilize them. And I'm using the term shoulders a little bit loosely. I mean the deltoids, which is what we are primarily going to focus on. But that's it. But shoulders a lot of the times involve the shoulder joint involves a lot more muscles other than the deltoids. Today we will be focusing on the deltoids as opposed to just the shoulders. 3 more breaths again here. And pay attention to which exercise you found easier to practice the breathing that I'm suggesting. Notice if by practicing the breathing I'm suggesting you're able to go even a little bit further, a little bit deeper into your practice. Alright, very nice. For the next one, now I will ask you to come slowly out so we can perform the next one, which is a pose that a lot of you, if you have been practicing yoga, I bet are familiar with. But you may have not done it lying down. And yeah, so if anyone is pregnant, you can be practicing this pose seated. It is called eagle pose, Garuda, and it is performed like this. It works on the abduction of the shoulder. Sorry, adduction of the shoulder. But I would suggest that unless you need to be seated to practice it lying down. So from here, I'm lying on my belly and I'm going to cross. Bring one arm across. Let's start with the right arm across and then the left. The left is on top of my right. And from there, I'm going to cross my arms. So eagle pose with my arms and I'm resting on my belly. If you cannot hold your arms, try to get to lock the hands in some way. Now from here, I would like you to inhale and prolong the exhalation. You extend your arms away from your body. And then bring them back in and you perform 7 of them. I'll let you complete them on your own. And once you have completed them, you will change side. You will cross the arms the other way. Again, the breath is soft. And maybe you want to synchronize the movement of the arms with the breath. So you prolong the exhalation and as you prolong the exhalation, your arms move further and further forward, away from your head. For any questions in regards to this exercise, you can let me know again. And if you have completed your first 7 repetitions, then I invite you to go to the second side. So you switch side, you cross the arms the opposite way, and you continue to perform. Too painful on the right shoulder. So Cynthia, if it is painful on the right shoulder, maybe you can give me a little bit more information in regards to where you feel the pain. Is it the front of the shoulder? Or is it at the back of the shoulder? Maybe I will give you a few more tips. But yeah, in general, when you're crossing your arms, so it's in the front, you're saying. So when I'm crossing my arms like this, it is primarily the top shoulder that is getting more of a stretch. It will be interesting to see if you're experiencing the same thing on the second side. Although if you're not, because both shoulders are stretching the same way, I would expect that if you didn't feel anything in the first round, it would be when you switch and you have the left arm over, you're not going to feel anything on the second round. Now, if you feel pain in the front of the shoulder, there might be it is usually an impingement. I would not be surprised if you're feeling it in other postures as well. So the adduction of the shoulder should not cause any pain here. Yeah? Like I said, let me know if you're feeling it in other postures, if you're feeling it, I would imagine maybe in downward dog or in other movements. And if you don't, I would be surprised. Of course, I don't know your body well. And yeah. I basically what I'm trying, why you see me pausing is because I'm trying to think if there is any adjustment I can give you, but the reality is that it's not. Chances are that there is some injury or something going wrong in general in your body in this in the shoulder, and it's now manifesting in this pose, but it's not the pose that causes the pain. Alright, once you have, I believe that by now everybody has finished both sides, and the last exercise we will be doing for the shoulders is a rotator cuff stretch. Now I find this to be a little bit more tricky, so please pay attention and work step by step. It is tricky in what sense? It's okay on the left. Okay. And is it, Cynthia, something that you have experienced as a pain, as a problem in general, in other postures, in other classes, or is something that you feel for the first time? That you can let me know as I'm demonstrating the next one. So this, I call it rotator cuff stretch. I have heard this stretch being referenced with different names. It's entirely up to you. Again, it doesn't matter how you call it. So I'm resting on my back and now I'm extending my left arm out. I'm bending my left arm. So notice that my left elbow is same level with my shoulder and my left hand is in the direction of my legs. From here, what I'm going to do is I will keep my elbow on my shoulder, on the floor, and I will keep my elbow 90 degrees. And slowly I will pivot on my shoulder. Notice that my shoulder is still on the floor, my elbow is still 90 degrees. I didn't straighten my elbow. This happens often, but it will take the stretch away. There is nothing for me here to stretch. So from this position, I will slowly come all the way belly towards the floor. You may notice that my wrist wants to come up. So in order to keep my wrist down, with my free hand, I can apply some pressure and slowly come down. Now, in some cases, you may need to shift your body, your trunk a little bit further back so you don't feel an impingement in the front of the shoulder. The front of the shoulder is usually where a lot of problems manifest, although the problems are due often to the back of the, to muscles on the back of the shoulder, such as the rotator cuffs. So from here, I'm slowly coming all the way, as you see, belly on the floor. Now go slowly. I would imagine that for some people performing this exercise, just coming sideways like I'm now here will be their limit. And if that's the case, that's fine. As I mentioned a few times already, it is a rotator cuff stretch. The rotator cuffs there are four muscles sitting at the back of the shoulder and they are stabilizers for the shoulders. Extremely important to have them mobile, also strong. So there are a lot of strengthening exercises for the rotator cuff. So I would like you to breathe softly here, but I think flexibility as well. I like to combine both strength work and rotator cuffs, stretches in my private practice. And perform a couple of breaths here, like 2 to 3 more breaths, and then I would like you to go to the second side. So I'm going to check if there have been any more comments. If Cynthia, no, it's the first time, Cynthia, you're experiencing that. Okay, like I said, obviously I'm not seeing you. I would say that maybe it's something that you have not paid attention. Like, I don't think that you have injured yourself by doing this stretch. It will be extremely unlikely. Keep an eye on what goes on the right shoulder, and maybe you're more mobile there. The joint, I don't know. I really don't know. It would be hard for me to say. But keep an eye on it. I would imagine that this is something that is ongoing. So you're performing now the second side, the rotator cuff on the second side, and afterwards I will suggest that we move into some warrior positions. We'll do a series of warrior positions, and if we have time, we'll finish off with some breath work in Sivasana. All right, and slowly come out. I would expect that at this stage everybody has mobilize their shoulders. By the way, this has not been a very long sequence. I've been speaking a little bit. We've been 24 minutes in this practice, but I would expect that people are feeling a lot more open in their shoulders. Can you please let me know in the comments area on the live chat, for those of you that are live now, but also for people that are doing this class later on, how you have found these shoulders. So the shoulder stretches, have you feel that your shoulders can move more freely? They feel light. Okay, glad to hear, Sylvia. So I will start demonstrating the warriors, but please, as I said, it's always better to have some interaction with you guys, and if you leave a comments, that's thank you, Bo. Great to see you joining from Poland. I visited Poland once, and it was when I was attending the training for the Wim Hof training. That was the only time, but it was very, very, very nice. there. Alright, so for the warrior positions, I would like us to start with the right leg forward, left leg back. I will run quickly through the alignment of warriors. Different styles of yoga will teach it differently. The way I like to teach it is the following. So we start by making sure that the hips, as much as possible, is square forward. So if I was to face you, you would be seeing my hips more or less square forward. Maybe they're a little bit of a twist, but I'm not here on an angle. I'm definitely not in a warrior 2 position. So I'm here square forward. My back foot is straight, and depending on people's flexibility now, where is the foot in relation to the front? It can be quite out to the side. Don't worry about if the heels are in line. This is actually going to be very hard for people to maintain heels in line in warrior 1. So you're keeping your back knee straight, you're pressing the outside of the back foot on the floor, and very important, you're tucking your tailbone under. So here is a great opportunity to tuck the tailbone under and keep your navel in, lock your abdomen, and if possible, your knee is above, the front knee is above the front heel. But of course, I can be in a narrower warrior 1, and I can be here, but get to the point, go as deep as you can, so you can feel, that will be my range, to feel a stretch in the front of the left thigh. Now, lock the back knee so that you don't put any pressure on it, so you're keeping it straight, and your shoulders as well as the hips are facing forward. So lateral breathing now, I'm speaking, but you don't need to be speaking, you can be focusing on your breath, and we will stay here for 4 more breaths. We may be running a little bit over time today, but yes. So maybe you will be finding natural to contract the left glute. Navel in. You can close your eyes as well. A lot of the times in my classes, I'm encouraging my students to keep their eyes closed. And when you have finished the last 4 breaths, lateral breathing. Remember, if you want, you can have your hands on the rib cage to feel the expansion of the lungs. Now you will be twisting your hips sideways. So while before I was insisting on having your hips facing forward, now I will ask you to have your hips sideways. Now you're tucking your tailbone under. It's quite common here to arch the lower back. This will take away a lot of the stress from the hip flexors of the left leg, but also it may make it harder to maintain lateral breathing. Pay attention so that the right knee stays in line with the toes of the right foot, so we don't have the knee collapsing in. The shoulders are back. You may want to think of leaning against a wall. Tailbone under, you can try to engage your pelvic floor if that's something you're comfortable with. If not, ignore. And again, a lot of the times warrior 2 is performed with the arms out to the side. I'm not going to speak about the shoulders. Kick the arms down if you want. For me, what defines the posture is primarily the setup of the leg. In future classes, we will be adding more warriors in this sequence, but for now, we will keep it simple. It's just the second month of these classes. So from here, slowly you move out, and notice if you find a difference between the left and the right side. Again, feel free to leave me a comment as you take a few steps to see if yes, Bo, it was very nice there. So if you felt the difference between the left and the right side, and I would like you to go now into warrior 1 with the left leg forward. Obviously, we're going to be doing even things between left and right side. So left leg forward, right foot back. Let me demonstrate, as people are not sounds at anything. So now it is my left leg forward, right leg back. So a little bit more information here about warrior 1. So in the warrior 1, we are stretching the front of the hip flexors, the muscles in the front of the. What are hip flexors? They are a series of muscles that facilitate hip flexion. What is hip flexion? Please stay in warrior 1 as I'm describing. Hip flexion is this. So while these muscles contract when they are performing this movement, they are stretching when we are performing the opposite. And that's what we are achieving primarily with warrior. At the same time, you may have noticed those of you that are holding the position, and just as a quick reminder, please maintain lateral breathing. You may have found that the quads of the front leg are getting a little bit tired. So we can say that we are building some static strength for the muscles of the front leg. Not extreme, but still, to some extent. Points to pay attention to: outside of the back foot, pressing on the floor, back knee straight, hip square forward, and as much as possible we go deep into the pose. So we want to have a wide position. I'm a small man, but yet as you see I'm trying to cover as much of space on the mat without compromising my position. Eyes can be closed, a couple of breaths, and then we will be moving to warrior 2. Keep the right glute contracted. Perform 2 more breaths here, and when you're ready, you slowly will open your hips sideways. Now your hips are facing towards the opposite direction. Again, a couple of cues here as reminders. One more time, outside of the back foot, pressing on the floor, right knee straight, tailbone tucked under, navel in, left knee in line with the toes of the left foot, and lateral breathing. Shoulders above the hips, facing sideways. And if you want to do something with your arms, you can keep them extended forward, you can keep them down, that's not a problem. The focus here is that I want you to be paying attention to your breath, and ultimately I want you to breathe there take 5 more breaths, and when you have completed them, I would like you to slowly come out. So next couple of breaths, feel free to take a few steps if you want once you finish these breaths. And I would like you to come out of the position once you have finished them and come into a lying down position. Lie on your back so you can have your feet together and knees apart, or you can, so you would be in this position, or you can come into the common Sivasana setup where the legs are extended, the feet are dropped left and right, hands on either side of your body, palms facing up. And but I would suggest actually, if you want to have your hands on your belly instead. Make sure also that your neck does not have any pressure, so you may want to lift your head and reposition it on the floor so there are no creases at the back of your head. And as you follow your breath here, I would like you to soften it. I would like us to combine the 2 exercises that we did today. Soft breathing, hypercapnic breathing, and lateral breathing. Now there is no balancing, of course, there is no demands on the core, but there will be this exercise will require concentration, and it may take also some breath work in regards to as you are working with your blood gases, yeah, as you are working in a hypercapnic setup. So navel in. Now in the beginning, don't worry so much if the belly moves a little bit, but over time you want to minimize that. So as I said, breathing softer can shift you into hypercapnia, but also you can be breathing light if that's something that you are familiar with. It's always easier to work with exercises that you have practiced before. Last couple of breaths here. I would like you to do another 5 to 7 breaths here, breathing in this fashion. And then I will ask you to come out, and if you have any questions, we can address them. Remember, you are achieving the goal if first you are bringing your body into a state of air hunger. but at the same time, I would encourage you to see if you can keep your navel in while doing that. Last couple of breaths here. Over the next few breaths, I would like you to come out. Feel free to write on the chat if you have any questions. By the way, those of you that are attending these sessions recorded, you can also write any questions that you have. I'm going back to the old classes and I'm checking if there are any questions and I'm trying to answer. You can always, of course, reach out to me directly. You have my contacts. The best way to stay in touch with me is via WhatsApp. You can find them in all my social media, my WhatsApp link, but also Instagram. I'm trying to stay a little bit active. I'm not a big fan of social media, but you can stay and feel free not only to tell me how you're finding these classes, not only to tell me if you have any questions, but also let us know, let Patrick or myself know how we can reach out to your communities that you may think will benefit from our work. So we are available, we are doing a lot of work. Patrick is teaching a lot. So what's the difference between, boys asking what's the difference between light breathing and air hunger? Air hunger is the sensation that we are inducing to the body when we are getting into a state of hypercapnia. So the body has a certain level that it has adjusted of CO2 that it is used to in the bloodstream. And when this level increases slightly higher than that, now this level might be different for you, Bo, and for me. But once you get a little bit higher than that, then we refer to this higher state of carbon dioxide as a hypercapnic state. As I said before, someone that practices a lot of hypercapnic breath work, such as light breathing, he or she will need to increase the CO2 higher. Maybe your reference is 40 millimeters of mercury, mine is 35. I would be in hypercapnia the moment I am at 38, but you will need to go to 44, 45, let's say, in order to be in hypercapnia. But it is this relationship. Breathing light, we can describe breathing light as any light breathing, where the air is softly coming in and out of the nose. But in case you're not familiar already, breathing light is the name of an exercise that Patrick has been teaching for a long time. Patrick McCone, the founder of Oxygen Advantage, and you can find it on all of his recent books. So it is on the breathing cure, Oxygen Advantage, and so on. And this is the breathing light is a hypercapnic breathing exercise. I hope that answers your question. So as I said before, those of you that I will be attending this class recorded, leave a comment and no problem. Thank you very much for asking, Bo. And as I said, every Thursday now the new time is 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm looking forward to seeing this class rolling. I hope people find it useful. I'm receiving messages that tell me so, but obviously not everybody contacts me. So I hope you're appreciating this series of videos. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, depending on... Thanks, Laura. Thanks for your message. Depending on where you are. Bye-bye, guys. Yes, Sylvie, pay attention to your right shoulder, for sure.